In the quiet suburbs of Chicago, he was known as a successful contractor, a community volunteer, even a clown who performed at children's parties. But behind the smile was a monster, one of the most gruesome serial killers of all time. This man was known as the Killer Clown. He dressed up like a clown and went to parties, shows, and hospitals, but he had another life. When he took off his clown suit, he became a beast. And by the time the police found out what he was really like, it was too late. Many people had already suffered at his hands. John Wayne Gacy was born in Chicago in 1942. His father was strict and violent towards both his wife and children. So when John was just 3 years old, his mother left his father and married one of her co-workers. She thought that if she could find a good job, then they would never have to go back to her violent ex-husband. So the family moved into a new house and began a new life. But John didn't like his new stepfather. In fact, he hated him. One day he told his mother, "If I ever call you for help, will you come?" "Yes," she said. "Of course." "Well, I'm calling you now." And then he pulled out a knife and attacked her. His mother was shocked and screamed, "What are you doing?" Then John looked at her and said, "That's what you get for leaving Dad." His mother and stepfather were very scared of John after that incident. They knew that he was dangerous, but no one else did, not even John's own father. When John grew up, he became an undertaker. He liked dressing up as a clown and performing for children. He called himself Pogo the Clown, or Patches the Clown. Even though he looked happy and funny, inside he was very angry and violent. The truth was that John had two lives. When he was dressed as a clown, he was friendly and made everyone laugh. But when he wasn't performing, he was cruel and mean. In 1972, John met a woman named Carol Hoff. He introduced himself as a successful contractor. He wore nice clothes and drove a fancy car. Carol fell in love with John and soon they were married, but after their wedding, John changed. He didn't look after Carol and he often beat her. Once he even tied her up. After he calmed down, he untied her and said, "I'm sorry, my love. It will never happen again." But John was lying because he continued to abuse his wife. One night, he hit her on the head with a vase and broke her nose. Carol had enough. She wanted to leave him, but John wouldn't let her go. He kept telling her how much he loved her and begged her not to leave him. But Carol packed her things and left anyway. John was furious. He wanted to hurt his wife, but she had already gone. That's why he started going to bars and disco parties. There he met young men who liked to have fun. John offered them drugs and alcohol and then brought them back to his house. When they arrived, John showed them his so-called museum. It was full of weapons, handcuffs, and other tools used for torture. The young men were scared, but John gave them more drugs and alcohol, and then they passed out. The next morning, they woke up and couldn't remember anything. John told them, "You were just here for a party, right?" Of course, they believed him because they had taken so many drugs. They didn't realize until later that John had kidnapped them. He had drugged their drinks and then handcuffed them to his bed. When they passed out, he took pictures of them and then beat them. Sometimes he also invited his friends over, and they did horrible things to the young men. As you can imagine, the young men were traumatized by what happened to them. But when they told the police, they didn't believe them. They thought that John was a nice guy and couldn't believe that he would kidnap, torture, and abuse young men. So the abuse continued, but eventually some people came forward and said that John had tried to bribe them. He had offered them money in exchange for sex. The police began investigating John. They searched his house and found many strange things, including handcuffs, knives, ropes, masks, and several weapons. They also found a secret room under his house where they discovered the bodies of 26 men. What the police didn't know was that there were many more bodies hidden underneath his floorboards. When the police arrested John, he acted as if he had no idea why they were there. He said, "You must be looking for one of these guys." Then he pointed at a picture of himself dressed as a clown. The police were confused because they had never seen the man before, but they could tell that he was hiding something. They put him in jail and charged him with 21 counts of murder. John was finally caught, but his trial didn't make the news. No one wanted to know that such a horrible thing had happened in their city. They thought that if they pretended it hadn't happened, it would go away. But the truth is that John had been abusing young men for a long time, and no one had noticed. A few months after his arrest, John was found guilty of 21 murders. He was also charged with 13 other murders, but the court didn't know what had happened to the rest of the victims. John was sentenced to death by electric chair. Before his execution, he told the judge, "I'd like to say that I'm innocent. I did not commit these crimes. I'll be proven innocent someday." Then he was led away to be executed. On May 10, 1994, John was taken to the prison. He was strapped to a chair, and the first bolt was shot through his brain. But he still moved. Then the second bolt was shot through his brain, and finally he stopped moving. John Wayne Gacy was dead. But even today, people don't know what happened to all of his victims. Some people say that he killed as many as 33 people, but the real number may never be known. One question that many people ask is why John did what he did. Why did he kill so many people? Well, we don't know the answer to that question. But we do know that John was a very sick man. He was a monster who enjoyed hurting others. He was also a coward who only attacked people when they were defenseless. We hope that the families of his victims can find peace, but we also hope that no one will ever forget what John did. We need to remember him so that we never forget the terrible things that humans are capable of. Thank you for watching the video. If you want to see more videos like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. Please also leave us a comment below. We always appreciate your feedback. And if you have any suggestions for future videos, please let us know. Again, thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next video.